What's up, guys? DRJ here, and today I want to talk to you guys about the glory days of spawn camping. This is kind of like I debated about what to do with this. Whether I go make it into a rabbit hole story or more of a video game story. I think the last two video game stories I had, in my opinion, were they were a lot of fun. They were pretty ridiculous. So this story is not nearly as ridiculous as the Blizzard or the LAN. But I have a lot of moments or memories in my head where I just laughing uncontrollably, laughing to the point of just falling out of your chair and can no longer breathe as a result of the way that EA did design Battlefield and how easy it was to spawn camp someone. I wouldn't say how easy, but how merciless and how brutal it was when you did spawn camp somebody. It was so satisfying. It was so much fun. I know that it's not the most enjoyable thing to have done to you, but at the same time, it was so satisfying to sit there and just lob rockets or bombs or machine gun rounds into the narrow opening of some building where everybody was spawning in and just mercilessly kill their team again and again and again. It really drove home the fact that that team was infinitely more shitty than the team that you were on. It was not that they can't look at the map and the ticket counter at the top and see that the scores are totally lopsided, but they literally cannot fucking spawn into the game and walk for more than half a second without being obliterated. So I guess the first thing I want to do is I want to talk to you guys about more or less the three different ways that this happened, and then I'm actually going to I reinstalled Battlefield, and I'm going to walk you guys through a few of those and show you exactly what I mean. So the first way that it happened was just spawn camping like it sounds. So the reason why it was so deadly though, and why it was used as such an efficient tactic, usually in public games, was because you had two main spawns, right? So you had predictable spawns, you knew where people would possibly be coming from, and then in the middle of the map, so you had red base here, blue base here, whatever. And then in the middle of the map, you would have whatever, say 4 to 6 capturable points. So once one team captures all of those, or if they did capture all of those, then there's nowhere else to go after that. The only place to head over to is the enemy's base, and ensue raping, looting, pillaging of the enemy base. And that got so deadly because the reason why that was so deadly, going over there to spawn camp them, is because oftentimes the enemy base consisted of maybe 2 buildings, maybe 3 buildings, maybe less. And the enemies would spawn within these very, very narrow confines in 1 or 2 buildings. So there was no accuracy, there was no aiming, there was no strategy, going in there with 10 guys to figure out some sort of complicated way to force them into spawning into a certain location. It was just take the points, walk over to their base, kill them, and they all literally respawn on top of each other in this tiny little fucking box, and you lob in your det packs or grenades or machine guns, whatever the fuck it is they're using, and you mercilessly destroy their enemy team again and again and again. So oftentimes this situation just got completely blown out of proportion because in competitive play it's so ridiculous even thinking back about it. In competitive play, you used to have guys that, depending on what league you're in, there was Cal, which was, I think it's so nerdy to even talk about it. The Cyber Athlete Amateur League was the premier division, and then underneath that you had TWL, which is Team Warfare. TWL, you had a whole lot of teams, and most of them weren't nearly as competitive as Cal, so you ended up with a lot of goofballs. Oftentimes, you could basically predict how good a team was going to be as to how regimented or how strict they were. If they looked like some organized military team or something like that, they had ranks and battalions or platoons and all that bullshit, chances are they were going to suck. And what went hand in hand with that kind of shit is they often the more strict or regimented they were, the more they tried to play by this honor code or something like that. And what that meant is they became furious if you were spawn camping their team. And it was, you know, it was way, 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 way too much fun to play one of these guys in matches and just brutally punish them. You know, they were horrific, they were terrible, they didn't, you know, it was a total waste of time for both parties involved to be playing each other, but it was so satisfying to sit there and just, like I said, spawn camp via, you know, det pack or X packs, which is basically like dynamite, and just kill them again and again and again, like I said, as if they needed more reason to already know, if they're not looking at the scoreboard, that they are terrible when they cannot spawn in for the next couple minutes. That said, it is also the fastest way to end the match when you're winning. You know, these types of like honor teams, like I like to call them, you know, their version of playing is like you sit outside the enemy base. Well, number one, there's no, and you don't shoot them, you don't spawn camp them. So number one, it's kind of like, well, where do you draw the fucking line? Are you telling me that like I can't? It doesn't make sense for a lot of reasons. Like, okay, so I can't go in and drop grenades into the house you're spawning in, so you draw an imaginary line in the sand and I can sit out there with my fucking tanks and wait for you to come down one by one and kill you then? It just seems to prolong the inevitable and it's fucking stupid. So, you know, spawn camp away as far as I'm concerned. The second instance of how this used to happen, fuck man, EA is just retarded. They had, I can see why they did it. It's just that the actual like implementation and the reality of this mechanic was so faulty. So basically, hangars, aircraft hangars, you could drive a vehicle into, and they would repair it automatically. This ended up getting changed, I believe, later on down the road. I'm actually having a hard time remembering now because it's so long ago. I think this ended up getting changed, but at least for a long time, you could drive a fucking tank, any tank, your tank, the enemy's tank, whatever, drive it into this hangar. It would automatically repair it. Very, very handy feature until people figured out that you could like take a fucking airplane over there to the enemy base, bail out over their base, you know, grab an enemy tank, drive it into their fucking hangar, and you sit there and drill their aircraft all day. And by the way, like the highest echelons of competitive play, basically the key to the best teams was all about the airplay air power, whatever the fuck it is. It was all about the airplanes, is what I'm trying to say. So taking down somebody's airplanes or just forcing them to focus on you in the hangar, and your tank is constantly being repaired, is just, you know, absolutely brutal and devastating. Like I said, I think that was later taken out, but that was horrifically nasty. You know, I feel like the pinnacle, the sort of icing on the cake, the creme de la creme of like spawn camping actually came when EA instituted a all plane map called Coral Sea. So Coral Sea, they thought would be a really cool idea because everybody loved planes. By the way, frequently, you know, slightly offshoot of spawn camping, something that would happen in almost all maps is that because the planes were so much fun to fly, is that what happened is like you had a plane like over here, right? And the match would start up, you have everybody randomly spawning in on, you know, various parts of the space, and then there's just this mass exodus of, you know, players streaming over to these planes. So what's happening is like they're getting into tanks, jeeps, APCs, whatever, and they're all shooting each other, throwing grenades, all sorts of stuff, you know, smashing each other with the tanks, driving into each other as fast as they can in order to get over to these planes. Oftentimes what would happen is they wouldn't get to these planes, so they'd spawn as an anti-tank class that has a rocket, hop out, blow up the tank, or blow up the plane with a rocket, and then nobody would get it, and then, you know, they just sit there killing each other for the rest of the match, and competing like for these vehicles. So what happened is the EA was like, okay, we're going to make an all-plane map, very, very simple. There's one carrier on one side, one carrier on this side. When whoever kills the carrier first, the other guy's carrier first wins. And to make it really fun, fair, and friendly, we're going to put friendly fire off. So, oh my god. So, keep in mind all the stuff that we've already talked about, right? Like so now you know that friendly fire isn't going to work. So anytime you throw a grenade at your feet, you're no longer damaged. You get into a plane, and ordinarily if you were to drop bombs on the deck of something or too close to yourself, you would blow yourself up. This no longer works. You're no longer going to damage someone. You can hit them in the face with a friendly tank shell, they're fine. So what happened is there's basically two ways to just brutalize and dominate Coral Sea. Three ways, I guess. The way that EA intended, so stupid, is that you can fly over there and bomb and engage in dogfights and all sorts of goofy stuff, drag this out for hours and hours or whatever, and eventually somebody's going to kill the other guy's carrier. Well, this is really hard for a few reasons. Number one, the planes are ridiculously tough to fly. I'll elaborate on this later when I'm showing you guys the video. The planes are tougher to fly. There's flak positions all over the place, and you're competing with guys in dogfights. So you're going down, and you have to respawn in, come back over. So a faster way to do it, and what I figured out, is I was like, wait a minute, friendly fire is off. I was like, so why can't I just take my plane over there, land it on their fucking carrier, and just bomb away? I'm like, I don't see any reason why I can't. So, yeah, I mean, I started up, there's a million Coral Sea servers that are super popular, so then I would fly my plane over there and, land on the front of their carrier, just start dropping bombs, and within 20 seconds, their carrier has been destroyed, leveled, it's sinking into the ocean. People are saying, oh my god, what the fuck is going on? It's a 16v16 server, and after doing that for a couple rounds, the server clears out. So then I was like, this is fucking awesome. So then I would grab Bruce or somebody else, we would change our names to like Deck Bomber 1 and Deck Bomber 2, go join these Coral Sea servers, and the next step up from basically landing on the front of their carrier is either landing on the front of their carrier and like taxiing up to where their ships are at, their planes are at, or bailing out high altitude over their planes, and then you hit E, which is like enter a vehicle, and if you time it just right, you don't even have to pull your parachute, you just hold E, and you can like hurtle down like a fucking meteor, and as long as you hit like on top of the plane, like you go right into it, you're fine, you take no damage, you're holding E, and then you're dropping bombs on the carrier, and once again, EA and all their infinite wisdom placed spawn points like right on tops of those ships, so you're bombing the carrier, you're destroying the carrier, you're blowing up all the troops as they're spawning in, and if that's not bad enough, you can actually hit like number 2 on your keyboard, hop in the back seat of the turret, and blow up the other plane next to you. So it was absolute chaos. People were going ballistic. It was a whole lot of fun. You could do that basically, I don't know, I would never get tired of it. You could do it all day long, clear out servers again and again and again, and it was just a lot of fun. Like I said, it's spawn camping is, it's not the most fun mechanic if you're the one on the receiving end, but at the same time, like if you have capturable points around the map, I don't know that there's any real way to avoid it other than, putting some sort of like force field and invisibility screen around their base, something like that. I don't know. Maybe there's a way around it. The way around it in COD is to have, spawns where they come spawn right behind you and, shoot you in the back because there aren't any predictable spawns. A bit of a different example there. Smaller maps, different game type, etc. But that's the gist of it. So now I'm going to walk you guys through do a little video sequence here and show you guys exactly what it is I'm talking about.
Okay, so this first map is Coral Sea. I'm taking off on the Axis side and the Japanese Zero. It's the one-seater, much more agile than the two-seater, obviously. Has a lot of speed, 15 bombs, 900 rounds of machine gun ammo. So, I elaborate more on this in my FPS timeline video, but so the planes that you're seeing in this particular clip, basically in Battlefield, are planes that you will most likely never find in video games again, because they're too difficult to fly for most people. As you can see on the way over there, I'm picking up some altitude. Ordinarily, if I was being very competitive, I'd pick up altitude around my carrier and then take off and head over basically in the clouds. The goal is to basically, anytime you see something, you want to drop straight down on it, drop the bomb obviously as high up as possible. But there's a real art form to dropping bombs because, it's easy for anybody to come in at this really excessive angle, drop a bomb, and, fly out. But if you do that, you get shot down. So the best pilots basically go in, they get excessive speed, come straight down, they drop bombs, and, it was very, very difficult to see them. The reality of it, though, is that very few pilots attain that status of being, experts at dropping bombs like that. And because so many people had such a hard time piloting these planes, what you find now are basically jets in games where there is no more momentum or gravity or anything like that simulated, where you can basically just slam on the brakes in midair and then hit, whether it is W or your sticks again, and then just take off. There's a very, very, very low skill ceiling, and very minimal difficulty curve, skill curve, however you want to put it. You can hear my plane start whining every time I pick up speed. That lets you know you're picking up speed. You can see my cursor blip there, and that means that I'm getting a hit marker. This is just to show you a rough idea how the planes work. And like I said, I've covered this before in my FPS timeline if you want some more details. So this is what I'm showing right now. This is what people would do if you didn't have, you know, wouldn't basically do this. So basically now you parachute into this plane, friendly fire is off, you can drop bombs at your leisure, swap back and forth between the first and the second seat, use that to kill the other plane, drop bombs, bam, and you kill the carrier. Unfortunately, friendly fire is on in the server. I created it myself, so there you go. This next map is Kursk. This should be a shorter clip. So Kursk is famous for, just having a little fun here at the beginning. Kursk is famous for being absolutely brutal with spawn camping, especially on the other side. They have this tiny little building. There's two little buildings that they spawn in, and basically I spawned in as an engineer. You can see I'm using those explosive packs, the dynamite, det packs, X packs, whatever you want to call them. And you basically just drop those in their little hut over there. And as soon as they spawn in, you can blow them up. And not only, I mean, you don't even have to wait for them to spawn in over there. You just can sit. You don't. What I'm trying to say is you don't have to predict when they're going to spawn in. You can sit in the fucking building with them. Goodbye, plane. And blow them up like right on top of yourself. And because there's no friendly fire, it doesn't matter. So here's a tank. Spawns right across there. Big AoE damage. Just blows up everything. But if the tank's not working, and by the way, when you're spawn camping them, there will be people firing in every window with tanks. You throw that, that is enough AoE to cover that room, so you put one in that room, one in this room, and that's where 90% of everybody spawns. Blow them up. If you want to be a real dickhead, make sure that they're not going to get out, which they ordinarily wouldn't be getting out no matter what. You take this Jeep over there, run it up, stuff the door up, they're not getting out, there's no way. Kind of goofy. So, this next map is, what is this, Gazala, I think? Tried to shoot that guy, but I think you need E, yep. So I got my plane. Anyway, I'm just going to take my plane, basically, just head right over there. Like I said, if I was trying to be serious about this and be competitive, I would get a ton of altitude here, take off, and be in the air, and blah, 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 before I get over there. So I'm just going to head straight there, point A to point B, and I'm going to show you guys, this is a simulated round, whereas the one on Coral Sea was, I think it was just a local server. So there's technically CPUs playing on this one. CPUs, by the way, are horrific. Their AI is atrocious, but depending on where you set their skill slider, they can be absolutely deadly. So I'm just going to bail out. I'm going to grab this tank. This is a Panzer tank. So the Panzers, there were basically Panzers and Shermans, but there were two light tanks. Shooting at these dickheads in this Jeep behind me. Trying to dodge that round at the same time. Got all these dildos just laying all over here. So he just shot me at the west. West was a long-range artillery gun. You can call in a spot with a scout's binoculars, and you could zoom in on that and shoot it from a long ways away. So now this tank over here is shooting at me. So this is an all too realistic scenario of what would happen frequently in matches, at least early on. This is the kind of havoc that can be caused by just bailing out over somebody's base. Like I was saying, so you can get, this is a Panzer tank. What separates the Panzer from the Sherman is that the Panzer had a, basically could shoot much, the shots were much more straight, and it could shoot farther, but its turret was did not bend up and down nearly as much, whereas the Sherman, you know, it took more arc to get your shots, but the advantage or the perk to that was that you could basically go underneath a hill or something like that and shoot over that hill with much easier. There you go, stuck in with a rocket. So this is hangar camping. Unfortunately, they've already taken off their planes, but their planes spawn right in front of this hangar, and you can see so they've taken off the repair, so I can repair it manually. So that repair used to happen automatically, and then you would sit in here, it's being repaired automatically, and just level everything on the hangar field. So Pretty crazy. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed that, to have a bit more understanding of where I'm coming from when myself or Bruce mentioned spawn camping. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Comments, criticisms, critiques, let me know.